Hello, welcome to the Morning Serve. I'm Nick McArdle here with John Millman and Jelena Dokic. Terrific to have your company once again. We are previewing the men's final, Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic. Guys, cannot wait for this. We need to talk about the two semi-finals first. Was it the best semi-final day you'd ever seen?
Yeah, certainly semi-final combos when you take the two matches together, and it was incredible because with Carlos he was 2 sets to love up, but all of a sudden Zverev was serving for the match in the fifth at 5-4, and then Carlos comes through and wins somehow. But then, did we really expect Novak to beat Sinner here? Absolutely not. As well as we know he can play, we didn't think it was going to happen, especially best of 5. So it was drama, it was upsets as well, but some of the best tennis we've seen.
Yeah, wasn't it like the first time since 1988 that we've seen semi-finals, both of them go the distance to 5 sets
On the same day.
on the same day? Incredible tennis, and like you touched on, it was drama packed. It looked like a time that Alcaraz was going to run away with it against Zverev, and then the physical ailments came in and we get this epic 5-set encounter, and then a lot of people were riding off Novak. He got a little bit upset that they were, you know. We know the success that Sinner's had against Djokovic in the past. So then for people to watch it, or for people to wake up to the news that Novak Djokovic has once again defied time, it was incredible.
Just the symmetry around the same day 5-setters. It was the top 4 seeds in 88, just like a couple of days ago. Amazing.
Yeah.
And that's what this tournament called for, though, hadn't it? Because it had been going to script, according to script, throughout the tournament so far. I think we've been calling on, especially on the men's side, for there to be some epic encounters, and it finally delivered in spades. And I'll tell you who were the happiest people were the patrons who bought their tickets. Geez, they got their money's worth, didn't they?
Absolutely. Not much sleep, but they got their money's worth. Carlos Alcaraz, need to talk about the injury timeout, the treatment. What was your thoughts on that, Jelena?
Look, it's a tough one, and this is the issue a little bit with medical timeouts. Can you get them for cramping? Officially, you can't, but when the physio comes out there, it can be a tear, it can be a strain. You just don't know in that moment. So what happened was the right thing to happen around that medical timeout. Can you go into more kind of conversations and questions about it? Absolutely, like we have, but in a way, I don't think that the physio did anything wrong. This is the way it just goes on tour, doesn't it? And the whole cramping issue, you just don't know. You can come out there, and Carlos could have said, look, I've got a strain, I'm feeling something in my leg. He might not even have thought it was cramps at first. Right?
Yeah, and two things I would say to that, to reiterate your point. The physio did nothing wrong.
No.
You know, he has to treat it with the information he's been told from Carlos. Carlos still insists that it was a high thigh problem.
Yeah.
Even in his post-match press conference, he still says he wasn't totally sure that it was cramps, so you have to take the player at his words. What I will say, though, is that this is as old as time, this story. You know, a player coming on, potentially cramping, getting treated, saying something else was the problem, and getting that little bit of help. Now, I'm not saying it's necessarily the case here, but I don't want people to believe this is just a one-off incident. It happens week to week on the tour.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't also just happen at Grand Slams. This has been around for years and years, and you just don't know. But to say also, Alcaraz has had that thigh, actually both of them taped for the majority of actually 2025 as well. He does have issues with strains. On top of that, a tough match and hot as well. Maybe there was some cramping also, but if you're Carlos, you would still get treatment because you just don't know.
That's the way he recovered from that to win and come through that 5th set in particular. It's a Novak-like performance. What does that do for Carlos Alcaraz, not only for this tournament, but for the rest of his career?
It's a massive belief, but we saw it also last year. He was 3 straight match points down in the 4th set against Sinner in the Roland Garros final, and he comes through and he wins in 5. So we've seen Alcaraz do that already in his short career. He's got massive belief and massive confidence in him. In his post-match encore interview, he said that to Jim, it's all belief. I believe until the very last shot. It's very Nadal-like, isn't it? But he's building this massive reputation that he doesn't go away. Even when you're serving for the match against Alcaraz, even when you've got match points, you just can't be even anyway sure that you're going to win. Alex de Minaur unfortunately had this in Barcelona a few years ago with Alcaraz, and he, I think, hit a tweener on match point to save it as well. The reputation is that the locker room and the players and everyone knows that he's so hard to put away.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. He'll be storing this one in the memory bank, knowing that against all odds he can come back, physically struggling, he can come back and get the win, get the chocolates. And like you touched on, it's that reputation.
Yeah.
In the locker room, that reputation's only growing. And I'll tell you what, it puts the fear factor when you're playing against Carlos Alcaraz, especially in a best-of-5 set match.
The desire to win the Australian Open, I mean, that's motivation in itself. There's no doubt about that. I'm sure he's not lacking any motivation, but he has spoken often about wanting to complete the career Grand Slam, Johnny. I mean, is that just something that is a box to tick that will drive him even further?
Yeah, 100% it is. I mean, he wants to create history, and this is his chance to literally create history, become the youngest player ever to win the career Grand Slam. I think that, this has pushed him. I think also he's got a point to prove too, that he doesn't necessarily need one Carlos Ferrero in the coach's box. We saw a week before Christmas that partnership ending. Samuel Lopez is on the bag now, who's been with him for a large chunk of his career also, but he's playing it on his terms at the moment, and I feel like he has something to prove here. He recognises the importance of the occasion in the final.
Yeah, and also, he's never been past the quarterfinal at the Australian Open. A lot of it has to do with how much he plays at the back end of the year. So at times he hasn't been the freshest and brought his best tennis. This year he has. So, of course, history on the line to be the youngest ever to complete the career Grand Slam. But this is the only one that he doesn't have. He won all the other ones. But also, when you think about it, he's 22 years of age. This could be his 7th Grand Slam career title already. So it's massive, isn't it?
And he will have to be at the very top of his game to beat the 10-time Australian Open champion in Novak Djokovic. But if you could drill down into one part of the Alcaraz game that he absolutely needs to nail against Djokovic, what will it be?
I think he has to serve well. I think Novak's still one of the best returners in the world. When Sinner at times didn't serve well, Novak was on top of the point and he was playing aggressive tennis. So I think Alcaraz is going to have to serve well. And I think just in general, the way that he plays, he's going to have to do that against Novak. He cannot allow him any breathing space. He has to suffocate Novak and not allow him to feel like he has space to try and move the ball around. I think using the drop shot coming forward, not getting in these massive rallies from the back of the court to allow Novak to play himself in.
It's funny you mentioned the serve because it looks like he's emulated the start of Novak Djokovic's serve in that technique. I agree with you. I think also the big thing for him is recovery. How has he recovered? That was an epic encounter against Sasha Zverev, and he's going to need to be moving well to take on Novak Djokovic. The third thing I would say is he can't let Novak have his way with his change of direction. We saw that, and I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later. In Paris at the Olympics, Novak was changing direction at will. I think Novak Djokovic is still probably one of the best players to be able to change direction from the back of the court. What that does is it'll be making Carlos Alcaraz do the running side to side. And when you are recovering from an epic encounter, you don't want to be the one that's doing the running. You want to take control of that middle corridor. I think that's what Alcaraz will be trying to do.
What about Novak? So I think we agree that we didn't really see that coming. And so if we make that a starting point, what did he change? He said in the post-match press conference that Sinner had his number. So he had to change his mobile number for a start. But what did he change?
Look, I think he went into this match in a way almost, even himself, because you saw the reaction after the match. That was so genuine to be in shock that he actually won. I'm not sure that even he genuinely believed that he could do it. But what he did was he went out there and he got aggressive. Exactly that change of direction with the forehand down the line, even the backhand down the line. And I think that surprised Sinner a little bit. But what we've said this whole tournament, don't count him out, especially in Australia. He's won 10 times here, but he went into it fresh. Maybe not with the most confidence after not winning a set, going through fourth round and quarterfinal, not with his own fault, but he came into it. And after he won the second set against Sinner, he started believing. And that's the thing with Novak. You give him a little opening, and if he can sense that, that's when he's dangerous.
One part of the discussion since that match has been the way he managed his way through. It was really interesting to hear Andy Roddick talk about the fact that, if he's 30 love down, so Sinner's serving, wins the first 2 points, the percentage chances of Novak coming back and breaking that, so he'll basically back off and give that game because he wants to conserve energy to be at his best for his service game. The ability to do that over 4.5 hours. How mind-blowing is that?
Well, two things. He's drawing upon all his experience, isn't he? You know, that's the 38 years of experience to be able to do that. The other thing, and I think he's been doing it incredibly well during this Australian Open, from the very first round to that match against Jannik Sinner, is he's been serving well. You have to have incredible confidence on serve to be able to go a little bit easier in those return games when you fall down a few points early. You have to have confidence that you can step up at the line and hold serve.
Yeah.
So he's been doing that very, very well also. He's 10-0 in Grand Slam finals here at the Australian Open. I mean, you'd take a brave man to bet against him.
Is it important, given all of that, what you've just said, is it important for Carlos to stand at the other end of the court and know and get a sense and know how Novak is managing his way through this match?
Actually, no. I think for Alcaraz, his recovery will be important. But I think what he has to go out there and do is not look at who's on the other side of the court. Because what happened last year, Novak got into Carlos's head a little bit there was a couple of points where Novak wasn't feeling great. And I think Alcaraz almost took the foot off the gas a little bit and went a little bit conservative, and it cost him the match. And even I think he himself was shocked that Novak was able to still keep that level and consistency. Carlos has to almost go out there and go, I'm playing a player, and just look at the ball and the points. Not who he's playing, not think about who he's playing, because Novak does have the ability to get into your head knowing, okay, I'm playing Novak. He still has this reputation and respect, including with Sinner and Alcaraz, that he can beat anyone on any given day, especially in the final. And what happened at the Olympics as well, I think Carlos Alcaraz is a little bit scarred from that. He lost to Novak there, even though it was the best of 3, not the best of 5, but Carlos thought he had that one in the bag as well.
Well, he was playing on a surface, I think, that probably favoured Carlos Alcaraz, the clay of Roland Garros. You know, I mean, Carlos Alcaraz looks like the heir apparent to Rafael Nadal on clay. And on that day, Novak played extremely aggressive tennis, a little bit like we saw against Jannik Sinner, especially off that forehand wing. And you touched on it, Jelena. That's the side for me. He's playing really aggressively up in the court and using that forehand down the line. He's going to have to do the same.
John, Jelena mentioned earlier that Novak looked a bit shocked, you know, that maybe he didn't even believe that he'd be in that position. When he won, his team looked emotional. Look, they looked shocked and emotional as well. Does it get to the point at his age where, because this is not going to come along as often, maybe it means even a little bit more, but like being in this position at his age?
Yeah,
and we saw Charlie actually crying, his manager, which I thought was unreal scenes, because it shows that tennis, whilst it's an individual sport, you versus someone else at the other end of the court, it takes a team to put you there. So I just thought that was unbelievable scenes. But I think what he's learned after so long of being dominant, I think potentially you take it for granted. I mean, I know as fans we probably did. Oh, Novak Djokovic, he's into another final. You know, last year wasn't as easy for him, and I think he probably recognises that. He didn't get past a semi-final at a Grand Slam. In fact, he didn't win a set in the semi-final. So I think he recognises that it's not an everyday occurrence that you play in a Grand Slam final, even though he's won so many of them. But I don't think he's taken this moment for granted, and that's why I think he's a very dangerous foe to face in a Grand Slam final.
It's also a bit of a reminder for us all not to discount greatness.
Oh,
You
never.
know, it was remarkable. All right. So the head-to-head, it is 5-4 in Novak's favour, 3-1 on hard courts, and of course he's won 10 finals here, so he's got the edge in that department. 2-2 in finals overall, including 2 Wimbledon encounters there. Who wins, and in how many sets? Does that have any impact, or is this standing in isolation?
I'm letting Jelena take this one first. I want to hear her answer.
I do think actually it's a bit of a split, 50-50. I think a lot of it will come down to recovery, which we don't know. I think I'm going to go, though, with Carlos. I think he's primed for this Australian Open. If the recovery is good for him, I think he's going to win, but I do think it's going to be a 4 or 5 setter.
And I got to go with Novak. I'm going to go Novak in 4. History on the line for both players. One little incredible statistic that I came across was this is the first time in Novak's career at a Grand Slam that he's going to have to play the first and second seed at a Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Because, you know, early on, he's dominated for so long that he was, a top seed. And before that, it was the Rafa and Roger show. So it's the first time in his career. It's incredible. It's incredible viewing.
Well, here's another question. If he is to win, would it be the greatest win of his career?
Oh, absolutely. I think it would be one of the greatest tennis achievements and sporting achievements ever. Think about it. He's 38. He'll be 39 in a couple of months. And going for your 25th Grand Slam title, 11th Australian Open. Also, let's not forget the injuries he's had over the last few years as well. He's playing less tournaments, spending more time with his family as well. That's why his team is emotional, and so is he, because these things don't come around that often anymore. But he's still out here because he loves the game. I think this would be one of the, for sure, greatest efforts ever.
Yeah, I'm talking in all sport too, Jelena.
Yeah, me too.
Start building the statue.
There you go. And they may well indeed do that. John, Jelena, thank you very much. And thank you for your company over the last couple of weeks as well. Likewise, thank you for your company on The Morning Serve. I'm Nick McArdle. Bye for now.
WWOS Sports is your home of the Australian Open. From highlights of the best players, every magic Aussie moment, and the best expert analysis.
We'll have every nail-biting, heartwarming, and edge-of-your-seat point covered. Subscribing to Wide World of Sports on YouTube is a must for any tennis fan.